Welcome, everyone, to this explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we're going on a seriously fascinating journey. We're starting with the foundational building blocks of human language, the exact same grammar rules most of us tackled back in elementary school. And we're going to trace them all the way to the complex code that powers modern artificial intelligence. It's this brilliant evolution from just basic words on a page to how machines actually comprehend human language. Okay, let's dive into this. What do third-grade English exams and modern AI actually have in common? I mean, on the surface, absolutely nothing, right? One is a kid just trying to remember what a noun is, and the other involves literally billions of parameters predicting text inside a supercomputer. But underneath it all, they share the exact same structural DNA. Turns out, to teach a machine to read, you first have to teach it the parts of speech. Here's our quick agenda for today. 1. The building blocks of language. 2. The core language actors. 3. Modifiers, connectors, and emotions. 4. Common human grammar errors. And 5. Teaching machines to read. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The building blocks of language. There's actually a fascinating little debate going on in the grammar world. See, prior to the 1960s, pretty much everyone agreed there were exactly 8 parts of speech. Words like a, an, and the were just lumped in as adjectives. But in modern grammar, a lot of linguists have actually split these off into a brand new 9th category called determiners. But for this explainer, we're going to focus on the traditional 8. They're still the core framework taught globally, and they're absolutely crucial for understanding how sentences function. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this hilarious and honestly highly memorable mnemonic device for remembering those traditional 8 categories. If you ever struggle to remember them, just think, naughty people very always ask polite, curious inquiries. The first letter of each word lines up perfectly with the parts of speech. Noun, pronoun, verb, adjective, adverb, preposition, conjunction, and interjection. Definitely keep this list in the back of your mind as we start breaking them down. Section 2, the core language actors. First up, the noun. Basically, a noun is just a naming word. Whenever you see a word that gives the name of something, boom, think noun. Now, they can be concrete things that you can physically touch, like a dog, a book, or, say, the city of Delhi, but they can also be abstract concepts, things you can only feel or experience. We're talking about words like honesty, fear, success, or freedom. Next, we've got the pronoun, which basically acts as the ultimate shortcut in our communication. Imagine if you had to say, Ravi is a student, Ravi is intelligent, Ravi has a book, right? It sounds completely robotic and exhausting. Pronouns like he, she, and it just step right in to replace nouns, saving us time and avoiding that endless repetition. They're what make our language actually flow naturally. Then we have the verb. This is literally the absolute engine of any sentence. Verbs show us what the subject is actually doing. They can be physical actions like run, eat, or jump, but they also represent states of being, words like is, am, and are. And verbs can actually be kind of trippy because they change their forms completely depending on the time of the action, like shifting from buy to bought, or take to took. Section 3, modifiers, connectors, and emotions. So let's draw a really clear line between 2 categories that even native speakers stumble over all the time: adjectives and adverbs. It's actually pretty simple if you just look at what they're targeting. An adjective's only job is to describe a noun or a pronoun, like a beautiful girl or a small dog. An adverb, on the flip side, gives us more information about an action. It tells us how, when, or where a verb is happening, like if someone runs quickly or arrives yesterday. Just remember, adjective for nouns, adverb for verbs. So the crucial point is how we actually link all these words together in space and time. And that is exactly where prepositions come in. They show relationship or position. They tell you the direction something is moving, like walking past a bakery. They tell you the place, like a cat hiding under the table. And they tell you the time, like a meeting starting at 4 p.m. They literally ground our sentences physically and temporally. Next up are conjunctions. Think of these as the bridges of our language. They effortlessly join words, phrases, or entirely separate clauses together. A great trick to remember the most common coordinating conjunctions is fanboys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Without these little connectors, we'd literally just be speaking in short, choppy, robotic sentences all day. In wrapping up our big 8 parts of speech, we have the interjection. These are the spontaneous, emotional outbursts of the English language. Words like wow, alas, or ouch. They don't strictly connect grammatically to the rest of the sentence. Instead, they're just pure emotion, and they're almost always followed by an exclamation mark to show that sudden burst of feeling. Section 4. Common human grammar errors. So we know the rules. We have our categories, but let's be real. Humans are imperfect, and in everyday speech, we constantly mix these building blocks up. Looking at this data from the Germana Academic Center for Excellence, one of the absolute most frequent errors writers make is swapping adjectives and adverbs. Because we hear the incorrect versions so often in informal speech, our ears just get used to it, and then that bleeds right into our writing. Take this classic trap, for example. A lot of people would casually say, Victor did good at golf. Sounds okay, right? But based on the rules we just went over, this is actually incorrect. Good is an adjective. Its job is to describe a noun. But here, we're trying to describe how Victor performed the action, how he did. Because we're modifying a verb, we absolutely have to use the adverb well. So the grammatically correct sentence is, Victor did well at golf. And this brilliantly illustrates another really common mix-up. In informal speech, you might tell a friend, that's real sad. But if you look closely at the structure, sad is an adjective. And what kind of word modifies an adjective? An adverb. Since real is an adjective, it can't modify sad. We have to use the adverb form really. Therefore, that's really sad is the correct choice. Section 5. Teaching machines to read. Let's move to and see how this builds a natural language processing pipeline. Because while humans can bend, break, or just flat out forget these grammar rules, machines don't have that luxury. When you talk to an AI, it doesn't just read your sentence like we do. First, it uses tokenization to split your text into individual words. Then, it pre-processes the text to clean out any special characters. Finally, and this is the big one, it performs POS tagging, part of speech tagging. The machine literally looks at the context and assigns a grammatical category to every single word, using those exact same rules we just reviewed. Think about how a machine actually visualizes a sentence. If we feed it the quick fox jumps, it tags the as DT for a determiner. It tags quick as JJ, that's the machine code for adjective, fox becomes NN for noun, and jumps becomes VBZ for a verb. The machine uses probabilistic models to calculate the likelihood of these tags based on the surrounding context. It's literally turning our elementary grammar into calculated machine code. So, why does any of this actually matter? Well, because without parts of speech tagging, AI is entirely blind to meaning. By identifying nouns, verbs, and adjectives, machines can perform text simplification, breaking down complex inputs. It powers improved search engines, allowing algorithms to actually understand the intent behind your query. It enables named entity recognition to spot places and people. Honestly, it's the absolute backbone of machine translation. Without grammar, chatbots simply wouldn't function. Which leads us to a fascinating and maybe slightly provocative final thought. We started out today with third-grade grammar rules, mnemonic devices, and common human mistakes. And now, we've got AI systems flawlessly tagging and analyzing billions of words per second using those exact same rules. As machines continually master our grammar rules through strict statistical models, will they eventually understand the nuances of language better than the humans who actually invented it? It is definitely something to think about the next time you type a sentence into a search engine. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.